What if the strongest guy in the friend group is actually the one hiding the deepest pain? Everyone thinks Dean De Laurentiis has life figured out. He's confident, funny, charming, and never seems to take anything seriously. But what if season 2 changes everything? What if the man who always smiles is finally forced to face the one heartbreak he can't joke his way through? After digging through everything we know about the next season, from the ending of season 1 to the latest casting updates and the direction the series seems to be taking, I think Dean's story is about to become far more emotional than anyone expected. And trust me, if this happens, it could completely change the future of off-campus. Before we jump into all the theories, let's talk about why Dean's story feels so different from the others. During the first season, Garrett had Hannah, Logan struggled with his own feelings, and Tucker continued being the calm and reliable friend. But Dean always felt like the guy who could make every situation lighter. Whenever things became awkward or emotional, he was usually the one making everyone laugh. That confidence became part of his personality, and because of that, almost nobody questioned what was happening underneath. That's exactly why I think season 2 has the perfect opportunity to surprise everyone. The strongest character often becomes the most interesting once his confidence starts to crack. And the season 1 finale may have already given us the first warning that Dean's world is about to change. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction between Dean and Allie. Their connection didn't happen overnight. It slowly grew through conversations, playful moments, and genuine respect. Instead of forcing a romance, the writers allowed both characters to naturally enjoy each other's company. That's what made people fall in love with them as a couple. They didn't feel rushed. Every new interaction made their relationship stronger, and viewers could actually see Dean becoming more serious about someone for the very first time. That change alone was already a huge moment for his character. Dean has always been known for avoiding commitment. Relationships were never something he wanted to think about for too long. But then Allie entered his life, and suddenly, everything looked different. He stopped acting like nothing mattered. He started paying attention to someone else's dreams, someone else's happiness, and someone else's future. That's a big step for someone like Dean. But love doesn't automatically erase the past. Sometimes it brings old problems back to the surface. And I think that's exactly where season 2 is heading. One of the biggest warning signs came near the end of the first season when Davenport entered the picture. His arrival immediately changed the atmosphere. It wasn't simply because he had history with Allie, it was Dean's reaction that stood out the most. For someone who normally stays relaxed, Dean looked genuinely angry. Not annoyed, not uncomfortable, angry. That tells us there is probably much more to their history than we've been shown so far. The show also kept mentioning Summer whenever Davenport appeared. That feels too intentional to ignore. Writers usually don't repeat details unless they plan to use them later. Whether Summer was personally affected by Davenport, or whether something happened years ago that Dean has never forgiven, there's clearly a story waiting to be told. If that's true, Dean isn't only protecting the woman he loves, he's protecting someone from his past. And those are two completely different battles. The difficult part is that Allie may not fully understand why Dean reacts the way he does. From her perspective, she might only see jealousy or insecurity. But if Dean is carrying years of guilt or anger connected to Davenport, explaining those emotions won't be easy. Sometimes people push away the ones they love simply because they don't know how to share their pain. That possibility worries me more than any love triangle. Because misunderstandings can be fixed. Hidden emotional wounds are much harder to heal. Another reason I'm expecting a much heavier season is the way off-campus handles relationships. Unlike many college dramas that depend on constant cheating, unnecessary breakups, and endless misunderstandings, this series usually focuses on emotional growth. The conflicts aren't just there to create drama. They exist because the characters themselves still have things they need to overcome. That's why Dean's journey feels so important. His biggest challenge may not be keeping Allie. It may be learning how to let someone see the parts of himself he's spent years hiding. If he continues pretending everything is fine, he could slowly push Allie away without even realizing it. And that's what makes this story so heartbreaking. The danger doesn't necessarily come from another guy stealing her away. It could come from Dean's own fear. People often expect heartbreak to happen because someone leaves. But sometimes heartbreak begins when two people stop understanding each other. And after everything we've seen so far, I can't help thinking that's exactly the emotional direction Season 2 wants us to explore. The question is, if Dean finally reaches his breaking point, will Allie be the person who helps him heal? Or will this become the love story that changes both of their lives forever? Now, here's where things become even more interesting. While everyone is focused on whether Dean and Allie will stay together, I think the real story isn't about their relationship falling apart overnight. It's about the pressure building around them until something finally breaks. And that's a much more realistic kind of heartbreak. One thing off campus has done incredibly well is showing that relationships don't become difficult because people stop caring. Sometimes they become difficult because life keeps throwing new challenges at them. Season 2 seems perfectly set up to explore that idea. Dean has spent most of his life acting like the guy who never gets hurt. He jokes through awkward moments, avoids talking about his feelings, and always tries to stay one step ahead emotionally. It's a defense mechanism that has protected him for years. But once you truly fall in love with someone, hiding behind confidence becomes much harder. Allie is different from anyone Dean has ever met. She doesn't just enjoy the fun side of his personality. She notices the moments when he's unusually quiet. She asks questions that nobody else asks. And that means Dean can't simply smile his way out of every difficult conversation anymore. That's where the emotional tension begins. Imagine trying to protect someone while refusing to explain what you're protecting them from. Eventually, the silence becomes louder than the truth. If Davenport really is connected to something painful from Dean's past, then every time he appears, old emotions are going to resurface. Anger, regret, maybe even guilt. Those feelings don't disappear just because someone wants them to. And Allie may begin wondering why Dean keeps shutting her out. From her point of view, she could feel like he's losing trust in her. She might believe he's hiding something because he doesn't love her enough to be honest. But the reality could be completely different. Sometimes people hide the truth because they're afraid it will hurt the person they care about the most. That's what makes this situation so complicated. Neither of them has to be the villain. They could both be trying to protect each other while accidentally pushing each other further apart. That's the kind of emotional conflict that Off Campus has handled better than most romance series. Instead of creating drama through unbelievable twists, it lets small misunderstandings slowly grow into much bigger problems. At the same time, Dean won't be facing everything alone. One of the strongest parts of Season 1 was the friendship between Garrett, Logan, Tucker, and Dean. Their bond never felt fake. They celebrated each other's victories, supported each other during difficult moments, and weren't afraid to have honest conversations when someone needed help. I think Season 2 will rely on that friendship even more. Garrett has already experienced what it means to let someone into his life completely. Hannah helped him become a better version of himself, and because of that, Garrett understands what Dean is going through better than anyone else. Logan is also entering a completely new chapter. With Grace officially joining the story, Logan's attention will finally begin shifting toward his own future. Rather than staying stuck in the feelings we saw earlier, he now has the chance to grow in a completely different direction. That could create an interesting balance within the group. While Logan is discovering the excitement of a new beginning, Dean may be struggling to hold on to something he already has. Those parallel journeys could become one of the most emotional parts of the season. Meanwhile, Tucker will probably continue being the quiet voice of reason. Every friend group needs someone who listens before speaking, and Tucker has always filled that role naturally. Sometimes the smallest conversations end up making the biggest difference, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tucker becomes one of the people helping Dean realize that asking for help isn't a weakness. Of course, none of this means Dean and Allie are guaranteed to break up. In fact, I think the writers know how much fans love them together. Completely destroying that relationship would undo everything the first season carefully built. Instead, I believe the bigger goal is to test how strong their connection really is. Can they survive secrets? Can they survive fear? Can they survive a past that refuses to stay buried? Those are much more interesting questions than simply asking whether they love each other. Because love has never been the problem. Trust is. Communication is. Healing is. And if Dean keeps carrying every burden by himself, he could eventually reach a point where even Allie's patience begins to run out. That doesn't mean she stops loving him. It simply means every relationship has limits. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't falling in love. It's believing that someone will still love you after they see the parts of yourself you've spent years trying to hide. If season 2 truly follows that emotional path, Dean's biggest heartbreak won't just be about losing someone. It will be about finally confronting the version of himself that he's been running from for years. And honestly, that could become the most powerful storyline off campus has ever told. Now let's talk about the question every fan keeps asking. When will we actually get to watch all of this unfold? At the moment, there hasn't been an official premiere date announced for Off Campus Season 2. That means nobody can say with complete certainty when the new episodes will arrive. But based on how television productions usually work, there are already a few clues that give us a reasonable idea of what to expect. The biggest sign is that the series is already moving forward. The cast is growing, new characters are joining the story, and the creative team clearly has a long-term plan for adapting more of the books. That's exciting because it shows this isn't just a one-season project. The world of Off Campus is getting bigger. One of the most talked about additions is Grace. Her arrival doesn't simply introduce another character. It opens the door for Logan's next chapter and helps expand the story beyond Garrett and Hannah. Instead of repeating the same romance, the series has the opportunity to give each member of the Hockey House their own emotional journey. And that's exactly what made the book so popular in the first place. Every relationship feels different. Every character has different emotional baggage. Every love story faces different obstacles. If the show continues following that formula, Season 2 could feel even bigger than Season 1. But no matter how many new romances begin, I still believe Dean's storyline will be the emotional center of the season. Why? Because viewers have already seen his confident side. Now it's time to discover who Dean really is when life stops going his way. Sometimes the funniest person in the room is also the one carrying the most pain. Sometimes the person who looks fearless is the one who's most afraid of losing someone. And sometimes the biggest heartbreak isn't the moment someone walks away. It's the moment you realize you might be the reason they're leaving. That's why I don't think Season 2 needs shocking twists every episode to keep people watching. It simply needs honest emotions. If Dean and Allie are forced to face uncomfortable truths together, every conversation will matter. Every silence will matter. Every decision will matter. Because by that point, the audience won't just be watching two people fall in love. They'll be watching two people fight to keep that love alive. At the same time, I'm excited to see how the rest of the friend group continues growing. Garrett and Hannah have already shown what a healthy relationship can look like. Logan appears ready for an entirely new beginning. Tucker will likely remain the steady presence everyone depends on. Together, those friendships continue to be one of the strongest parts of the series. That's something Off Campus has always understood. Romance may be the heart of the story, but friendship is what keeps that heart beating. If Season 2 can balance those relationships while giving Dean the emotional development he deserves, it has every chance of becoming even more memorable than the first season. Of course, until official trailers and story details are released, much of this remains speculation based on where Season 1 left the characters and the direction the series appears to be taking. That uncertainty is part of the fun because every new update could completely change what fans expect next. One thing is certain, though, Dean's journey is far from over. Whether his biggest heartbreak brings him closer to Allie or pushes them further apart, the choices he makes next could define not only his future, but also the future of the entire friend group. And honestly, that's the storyline I'm looking forward to the most. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Dean and Allie will come through these challenges stronger than ever? Or do you believe this relationship is heading toward its biggest test yet? Share your predictions in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest off-campus updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So, after looking at everything we've discussed today, I honestly think one thing is becoming very clear. Season 2 has the chance to be much more than just another college romance. The first season introduced us to these characters, but the next chapter could be the one that truly tests them. Dean has always been the confident one. He's the guy who makes everyone laugh, the one who never seems worried, and the one who always looks like he's in control. But sometimes the people who appear the strongest are the ones hiding the most pain. If Season 2 decides to explore that side of Dean, we could be looking at the most emotional storyline the series has delivered so far. Of course, nothing has been officially confirmed about how Dean and Allie's relationship will play out. Right now, we're simply looking at the clues left behind by season 1 and thinking about where the story could naturally go next. And honestly, that's one of the best parts of being a fan. Every small update, every casting announcement, and every teaser gives us something new to talk about while we wait for the next season. I'm also really excited to see how the rest of the characters continue growing. Garrett and Hannah have already proven why they're one of the strongest couples in the series. Logan appears to be entering a completely new chapter with Grace joining the story. Tucker will probably continue being the dependable friend who keeps everyone grounded. Together, they make this group feel like a real family, and that's something many shows struggle to achieve. If the writers can keep that balance between romance, friendship, humor, and emotional storytelling, I honestly believe season 2 has the potential to be even better than the first. But with bigger emotions also comes bigger risk. Every relationship will face new challenges, every character will have difficult choices to make, and every decision could change the future of the entire group. Now, I want to know what you think. Do you believe Dean and Allie are strong enough to overcome whatever comes next? Or do you think this could be the relationship that completely surprises fans? And what about Davenport? Do you think he's simply another obstacle in Dean's life? Or is there a much bigger secret connecting him to Dean's past that we still haven't discovered? I'd really love to hear your theories because some of the best predictions always come from fans who notice the smallest details. So don't be shy. Head down to the comments and tell me exactly how you think season 2 is going to unfold. I'll be reading through your predictions, and who knows, maybe one of you will end up guessing the story before anyone else. If you enjoyed today's video and want more updates, theories, casting news, and breakdowns about Off-Campus Season 2, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you're enjoying this kind of content. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, whenever new information, official announcements, teaser updates, or fresh fan theories are released, you'll be among the first to know. There are still plenty of exciting topics to cover, and trust me, as more news starts coming out, things are only going to get more interesting. Until then, keep your expectations high, keep your theories coming, and let's hope Season 2 delivers all the emotional moments, unforgettable romances, and surprising twists that made us fall in love with Off-Campus in the first place. Thanks so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.